Hello and welcome to Coaching Corner. I'm sorry I'm not in my usual red background. We have my parents-in-law staying with us and they are sleeping in that red room. And somebody was saying to me, gosh, I wonder what it's like to sleep in that red room because it's quite a bright color. My answer to that is when you switch the lights off, there is no difference. And actually, I think it's a pretty cozy room. Anyway, I digress. The topic of today's Coaching Corner is something that comes up time and time again with my coachees and my mentees. It's the how do you stop worrying about that awful feeling that you are going to be found out? Now, it normally happens when you've started a new job or you've got a promotion, you're doing something for the first time, and you are thinking, oh my gosh, there are loads of things that I don't know. And what happens if they find out? They will think that I should not be here. They will think that I've let them down. They will think that I've hoodwinked them into giving me the job. All of these things. And I have to say that this feeling is so common. It doesn't matter where you are in the career scale. I've seen it mid-career, I've seen it at the beginning, and I've seen it right in the most senior leaders. So if you are feeling it's just you, then you are wrong. It is everybody. And I had my own version of this, when I got promoted into a role that I took on two other teams other than the team that I had hired and grew. And the two other teams that I had were in sort of specialisms that I had not had years and years of experience in. So there was a lot of element of like, okay, I've got to learn it as fast as I can, big learning curve. And then it came to a point where I thought, well, actually, I might have 20 years experience in one particular expertise, but I'm never going to get that other 20 years experience in everything else. And does that mean I'm going to get found out? Does that mean I'm a fraud? Does that mean I shouldn't be here? So, well, I decided not. I decided that actually, I'd been promoted. I had shown my various qualities that meant that I was going to be a good leader of those teams, despite not being a specialist in those areas. And that I had qualities that would mean that I would be able to manage and develop and set a vision, set a strategy that didn't require 20 years experience in a field that I couldn't possibly go back and get. But one of the things that, having decided that, there was still things that I felt very worried about. So one of the things that I used to find challenging was that I used to have to go and present a lot of business cases to the board. And the board were full of commercial people who understood what words like EBITDA and net profit margins and all of that kind of thing meant. And I had come from a creative background where you didn't really get that involved in a budget, let alone a business strategy. So I used to go into these meetings and try and prepare as much as I could, understand the figures, understand all the spreadsheets, et cetera. But secretly, I would be hoping that I would get through the meeting without being asked a question that I didn't know how to answer. So let me tell you, those were not enjoyable meetings. And I said to my then boss, listen, I come from a creative background. Finance is not something that I have loads of experience in. Is there training that I can do? Can I shadow somebody? Can I go on a training course? All of that kind of thing. So I went on several finance for non-finance manager courses. And I have to say, it probably slightly went in one ear and over the other ear, because I found that kind of thing, you kind of have to practice every day. And it's like Excel spreadsheets, like I still have to ask somebody else how to sort things out. I can figure it out eventually, but there's certain things that are just not my expertise. Anyway, so I used to really stress about these board meetings, get very nervous before them. Just used to practice my oceanic breath. So if you're watching me on Yoga in the Boardroom, you'll know what I'm talking about. And carry on like that until one day I sort of confessed how I was feeling to one of my other colleagues, and then they said, Tracy, why don't you just take in the finance manager? And I thought, well, I mean, I've never thought about that, never thought about it. I thought I had to know it all. I thought that actually in this role, it was not an option to sort of admit that you didn't feel confident or you didn't feel that you had a certain expertise. And so I thought, well, I'll give it a go, So the next board meeting that I went into, I planned it in advance. And I said, okay, so I'm going to take you through the overview, the strategy, the reasons for why we're going to do it. And Jane is going to take you through the numbers. And it was a light bulb moment. It was totally, totally fine. So for me, what the big learning was is that there's no way I was going to be able to cram 20 years of experience as a financial director into, I don't know, 3 months of being in a new job. And to a large extent, nobody else was expecting me to do that. What they wanted is for me to be there. What they wanted for me to do was come and bring my expertise and my specialism or whatever, my leadership skills, to envisage the strategy, to set a vision, to come up with a plan, and to go to them with recommendations. They did not need me to be a finance director level expertise about the figures. So after that, I just sighed a big sigh of relief and realized that actually the smart thing to do is to go in prepared to give all the information that people want, but it doesn't necessarily have to come from you. And, I left those meetings, hopefully with nobody thinking lesser of me because I did not have that financial expertise. And also what was good about those meetings is that they got the level of detail about the finances that they needed. So my big message this week is, in terms of like worrying, how to stop worrying about being found out. My big top tip is to own what you know. And that's probably why you got hired in the first place, all right? Own what you know and own what you don't know. Nobody knows 100% of everything all of the time. It is totally fine, in my opinion, to say, you know what, my strengths are whatever they are. I need either to get up to speed with some other area or a deep dive into this other area, or I'm just going to need a level. I'm going to need to borrow your brain on this thing because it's not in my ballpark. And so it's to own what you know, to be clear on what you are there, what you bring to the table, and to make sure that you can either get somebody else to come to the table with you that has the piece that you don't have. Because if you think about it the other way around, it's probably very unlikely that finance director would be able to talk about, I don't know, the creative strategy and why we were doing it and this, that, and the other. In the same way that it's quite hard for me to go, okay, well, actually, if you look at all the figures and this, that, and the other, the appendices, et cetera, what we're predicting is such and such and such. So own what you know and what you don't know. And honestly, that kind of lifts a weight off your shoulders. And with the bits that you don't know, of course, you can try to get up to speed. You can ask people to help you out, give you a deep dive, talk you through things until you understand it. Ask them what you need to know. What are the things that are the really key things to look for? So do your own learning on the job, as it were, about the things that you don't know. But if it is really, really a specialism that you haven't really got a chance in trying to squish into a very small, a lifetime of learning into a very small piece of time, then just own it and say, I'm going to bring in, the smart thing to do is for me to bring in somebody else who knows what they're talking about so that you get the details that you want. Okay, so I hope that's helped. In terms of what else have I got to tell you? So own what you know, see it as a strength. I'm here to do this bit of it, and actually so and so. It's a nice way of sort of including somebody else and championing somebody else's expertise as well, is if you use other people's expertise to bolster the whole presentation or argument or whatever it is. So yes, so in summary, you can't know 100% of everything all of the time. And that whole fear of being found out, I think the bit that you're worried about being found out, the other thing to do is look at it as a learning growth opportunity. It is when we are in the deep end that we often learn the fastest. So if you are thinking, okay, well, I can completely own 80% of this, the 20% of it is what's in it for me as I do this job. By the time I finish this job, I will have a greater understanding of that 20% that I didn't already know. So see it as a growth opportunity and not something that's lacking in you. All right. Well, I hope that helps. Let me know in the DMs or in the comments or whatever you want to. Please do let me know if that's helped. And if you have a question for Coaching Corner, please do send it over. All right. Take care. Bye.